Hey folks, I don't remember if I did a full review of my PBR from Alpha Pro Boots. Um, but anyways, I did some mods on this, and there's still more to come. I did some cosmetic mods, nothing crazy. I just changed these tires they were like just like a black thread, and I just added this cooking string. It just looks like a rope. I'm sure I'm sure it really wasn't like this color. I don't know how big the ropes are or whatever, but I just think it looks better. And I also changed the top here. This is just a printed cotton piece that I added the star. I just got it off of YouTube, or not YouTube. Just got it off a website, and I just put these on there. It's okay. We'll see how long it holds on, but I think it looks better. And I don't have the spotlight on top because you have to put a hole through the canvas here, but I might put it in the front here. I don't know yet. Right now all my lights aren't working, just over time from messing with it. I broke some of the wires. I'm either gonna rehook it up or just get better wires. This broke too. I'll fix that. I'm gonna that's gonna be part of my other mods. This is the cosmetic mods. And durability mod. I'm probably gonna put like a metal rod through here or something just to make it more sturdy. And yes, I'll hook up my servo. I used to have a servo in here, but then it shorted out. It wasn't waterproof, so that was kind of dumb of me to do. And I got water in there. But anyway, so the main mod for this, well, two main mods I did. Was the first one was change the radio. This is the original radio. This radio is from a truck, but I have this boat's radio in the box still. These things are a dime a dozen. They're just a 2-channel radio that come with all your RTR, usually boats or your trucks or whatever, your RC cars. Just a Spectrum STX2. They're good. They work, but I'm originally an aircraft guy, and I'm not used to these triggers. And for me, I just don't like the fact that you have a spring on your throttle. And on your steer. I mean, your steering's okay, but I don't know. I just don't feel like I have enough control. And there's not a lot of options. This is not a computer type radio. I mean, it has the rates, the steering rate. You can change all that. Throttle trim, that's cool. And you can change direction, obviously. But it just wasn't enough for me for something this scale and this cool. And plus, I knew I was going to upgrade it anyway to different things. Oh, this is a little piece here. I knew I was going to upgrade it to have the reverse buckets, which that's the major mod I did on here. But first, before we get into that, the original mod I did on this, first I got rid of the radio, okay, the 2-channel radio, and then I brought my Deviation 10 radio. This is a 10-channel radio. Originally, I did have a 10-channel receiver in here, and that's how I was able to add an extra channel to. When I had this servo working, because I had this on a separate servo. Because most people, I don't know, they just hook it up to the steering, which that's cool. And you can even make it opposite so it looks like he's looking one way or the other, but I want it separate, which I'll get it separate again. But that would still be working if that servo didn't burn out. And it wasn't just a servo that burned out, it actually shorted out. Didn't short out the whole system, but it was drawing power, so the other system was the receiver was shutting down, and I actually got caught out in the water, and I had to wait for the wind to blow it back. But anyway, that's another story. So anyway, back to that. So I changed the radio out, and while I changed the radio out, I think I changed the radio out first, and then I ran it with the original brushed motors in here. I clocked it to, it's on video somewhere in my YouTube channel. I think I clocked the original one like 8 miles an hour, maybe 9, maybe just about 10 miles an hour top speed. But yeah, so that was cool. But I changed out the brushless, the brushed motors, and I added my free wing, which I set on the radio, but I never actually here, let me get my light in here. I never actually showed what they look like in here. So let's see here, I'll get my light going here. So I don't know if you can see in there, but I put, let me lower this down a little bit. These are Freewing 3500 3500 kV motors. They actually originally came out of my 64 millimeter Freewing A10, okay? Because I since upgraded those motors. So I was like, what the heck? I got brushless motors. Let me use them. But there was a problem. The original brushed motors, okay, they had they worked fine, and they had these couplers inside here. You all know the couplers, what they look like inside underneath there. But the brushed motors shafts were long for those couplers. It was made for it. These shafts were too short. So what I had to do was I ordered some universal joints that were brass, and they really weren't made for that, but I made it work, and it did work, and I got some pretty good video off of it. But they eventually disintegrated. They blew apart. I threw a 4-cell in there. I was gonna do a 3-cell only, but then I had a 4-cell, and it ran and it went. But after that day of running, I was actually lucky that nothing else went wrong, because yeah, like it pretty much destroyed the inside workings of those universal joints. So after that mod, I was done. I couldn't run it no more. I bought some 26 millimeter shafts. They still weren't long enough. I bought a bunch of them, and then I came up with this idea. Well, I'm not gonna really explain it too much, but well, I'll explain it. But I basically took 2 of those shafts or those couplers, and I made my own. I basically cut them down, because I really only needed like another. If they were like 30 millimeter or maybe 31, 32 millimeter, they would have been perfect. And the fact that the grub screw or the set screw hole was actually in farther than the length of it was difficult too. That made it even shorter. So what I did was I actually cut 2 in half. Well, not cut them in half, but I cut them down, and I made like a groove. So one's basically like a female single plane groove, and then the other one's a male plane groove. And I stuck a steel shaft just to maintain stability, and it seems to work. There is some vibration. I'll run that up here in a minute when I hook up the battery and show you everything how it works. But it works so far. I haven't ran it on the pond yet. I did it 2-cell and 3-cell. I haven't done 4-cell yet. I don't think I'll do 4-cell now that I have a 3-cell. I may, just for S&Gs, just to see if it works. So anyway, so that was a major mod I did, and hopefully that one, those shafts, because they're not actually connected, they're actually just floating there, but they're, you just put your set screw on the one side, put your set screw on the other side, and then there's a steel shaft in the center, but the steel shaft is just like a floater. It just maintains it from moving up or down, and then the one shaft spins the other shaft just by, almost like a regular head screwdriver, flathead screwdriver type linkage. It's not like a drive shaft like your car or a universal joint or anything like that. It's just literally like this side has a shape, and this side has a flat shape, and it goes in like that, and that's it. So I'm hoping that vibration will definitely, if they wear a little bit from use, I'm hoping that the vibration will kind of go away. But it's there, but we'll see what happens. But the most pain in the ass mod I did, and I cut this too because I accidentally cracked this piece right here when I was pushing the battery in. So I had to push it on an angle, and I accidentally pushed too hard in the corner, cracked it, so I just cut that piece out. Now I don't have to push anything. So I'm gonna watch that though. I hope I don't get water in there, because this lip kind of keeps out water. We'll see. But anyway, the major mod here, the one that was the most difficult on this, and I have to give credit to where I got him from, Mario Lynch, I think his name is, or Lich. I'll put his information up on I'll link it to the channel. But the main thing is these guys right here. Now, these buckets were made, machined by Mario, and then he sent them away to a company. I'm blanking on the company. I think it's called like Shape Shape, I think it's called. Shape something. I can't remember the name of it. I'm blanking right now. But they basically made two versions of these. They made a metal version and a plastic version. Now, keeping that in mind, he's tested the metal version only. As far as I know, I think I'm the only one that's actually installed these. Someone else may have installed them and put them on their boats, but I haven't seen videos on them yet, or explanations of them anyway. So as far as I know, I might be the first, definitely first for my channel. But anyway, so the main issue with these is they're plastic, okay? Now, metal of the same size isn't going to flex as much, and I'll explain that in a second here. What I had to do was, as you'll see on these U-gates here, hold on, get my light again, sorry for this. Alright, okay, the main issue is this U-gate here. You'll see this is really tiny piano wire, which I got off of Ace Hardware. It's really thin stuff. I can't remember the dimensions off the top of my head. I think they're like 0.041. They're really small, or yeah, 0.041 of an inch or something. They're really tiny. It's piano wire, if you ever mess with piano wire. So this was flexing right here. I don't know if you can see it. This piece, this U-gate right here, when this pushed back, it was actually flexing this when it got back to this point, and there's a seal, there's a little lip right there that seals this off, okay? And it was pushing that back, so it was actually leaking. The water was spraying like a hose, like you put your thumb on the end of a hose. It was actually spraying back into this so bad, it was spraying back into my steering servo back here, the steering servo tube. I don't know if you can see it. This tube, hold on. This tube right here, you can't really see the tube. You see the hole. You see the hole, but yeah. So that hole right there, the water was spraying so violently and so hard. It would still go in reverse fine. It worked great. But it was pushing back in through that hole. It was actually dripping water inside the boat in there, and that should never happen. Yeah. So I sealed everything up here, which is pretty good. Anyways, back to these buckets here. Basically, my biggest concern with these buckets was how the heck am I gonna get? There wasn't enough space for the control arm to go. I didn't think, right? So I actually tilted. I don't know if you can see it, but I actually tilted them slightly outward so that your thrust goes in the middle for one thing, and then for the second thing, it won't be as high up to hit the bottom of this lip here. There's just not a lot of room to work there. And I think someone mentioned this. They said that the original, which first of all, the original was all hydraulically actuated, so they didn't have to worry about rods and stuff. They actually had a hydraulic hose come back and a hydraulic system with a piston and open and close these U-gates with no problem. But this doesn't have a hydraulic, so you have to have some type of mechanical system. But back to the original thing I was explaining was, I think the original ones, scale-wise, these were also smaller. So this scale deck, or this scale, they call it a transom, I guess, area, these jets actually would be smaller, so you probably would be able to put a mechanism there with no issue. But my fix was to cant them. I was thinking of canting them out, but I was like, let me just cant them in. That way the thrust kind of like goes in the middle of the boat, acts more like a single rudder type, propeller reverse type of boat. But yeah, so that's how I solved that. And obviously, the small piano wire with a little brass tube I have there also helps to clear anything, because I was worried about it hitting the steering control rod as well, but that wasn't too bad. That wasn't an issue, and it works quite well. And I'll fire it up here in a second, and I'll show you what goes on. And a lot of people were concerned too, like maybe this, or I was concerned maybe this isn't opening far enough too. But if you look down in there, the jets are actually smaller than this opening, so I don't think I'll have a problem at all with speed or performance in that aspect. It may slow it down a little bit, but we'll see. Maybe this extra drag of these things hanging down might do it too. I don't know. But my top speed with my 2-cell in there without these. I measured it out on the GPS. It was 13.5, something like that. So 13.4 maybe miles per hour, which is plenty for me. It's got a nice scale look to it. It's got plenty of power compared to the original. Even half throttle is nice. It seems like the brushless motors are more forgiving as far as the throttle setting, like where you set them. It seems like they're smoother. Where the brush motors kind of seem jittery a little bit, like they're either kind of there or they're not, you know. You could go slow with the brushed and kind of troll on, but it just seems like the brushless motors are just a lot more efficient too. They just really put the power where it's supposed to go. So anyways, let me pause this and then I will show you how these gates work and how I have it set up on my radio, and I'll be right back. So I'm back. I got everything hooked up. Now the other thing is too, normally you put the battery, let me lower this a little bit. Normally you put the battery in here and then just hook it up from here. Well, I need to get an extension because I moved my ESCs. You probably can't even see them. I'm going to take this off. I moved my ESCs all the way up here. Okay. Now, here, let me get a light again. Nice if I had a light with this GoPro here. Anyways, I put my ESCs down in there. I actually used silicone to mount them to the side. I mounted them metal side out. So I'm hoping the water will give them a cool, because this boat doesn't have a ESC cooling system. Now there's two ESCs. They're 40 amp a piece. They also came off my A10, which they are supposed to be air cooled. But I figured, what the heck? Let me try to, you know, I'm only running 2-cell at the moment. I'm gonna definitely test them when I'm done running this boat. They ran before, and they were just thrown in there. They were just flopping around in there, not even glued or touching the outside of the hull here, which the hull is going to be in the water. And then when you get going fast, yeah, it'll jump up out of the water, but the air will cool this hull. So I think it'll be okay. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Normally, you would hook the battery up in this side, and I'm going to put foam in here too to hold everything nice and tight. And then you slide it in there, right? Well, I actually have to hook it up here because my cord here is too short. So I'm going to have to probably get an extension for my ESCs to bring the cord back here to be able to hook it up back here. I was thinking of adding a switch too, but that might just be kind of a pain in the ass. It'd be nice to find a nice spot for this switch. And as you see, I moved my receiver up here too, so that's nice and secure. This is not waterproof. I probably will waterproof it myself eventually. This is a telemetry receiver, which I haven't hooked up in telemetry yet. That's another project. This broke, of course. This freaking thing snapped off. Plus I had to cut part of it to get the canvas canopy off, or the original canopy off, because the spotlight comes out over there. So I'll get it all hooked up eventually back again. So whoops, stupid light went out. Yeah, eventually I'll hook all this back up to where it's supposed to go and everything. But for now, I'm not worried about it. I don't run at night. I have never run at night, so I may eventually do something with these antennas. I don't really drive out that far, but I'm gonna have my fan boat, my recovery boat, ready to go just in case something happens. Because I'm not really concerned about that so much, because I've used this receiver, I've used the other receivers, and they work fine, especially in that location. They're up and underneath the coccyx stand right there, so I'm not worried about that. I think they're fine. This is only a 6-channel, so I may have to bump up my back to a 10 once I start adding like sound system. I'm thinking of doing maybe I'm gonna definitely hook the turret back up separately. Who knows what I'll do next? Maybe a horn, you know, that might be incorporated with the sound system, like cycling through sounds or something. I don't know yet. But yeah, she's definitely not done being modded. But anyways, so I just wanted to show you that how I have to hook my battery up here because I don't have a long enough lead yet, but that's going to change. And like I said, I'm going to put foam in here to hold these wires in place because the wires go back in here. back in here because they're really long wires because they're for the aircraft, and then they come back in here. And so I'm definitely gonna have foam there, and I'm gonna have foam so that you can just lay the battery in here, and that way it doesn't flop around. You can just throw it in there and it won't move. It'll be nice and tight inside there and not flop around. But anyways, I just want to show you that little process. But now I'm gonna show you these gates, and I'm even dying to see the gates actually work. I'll take this back up here. Okay. Alright. So these gates now, the way I have them set up is I have it set up to my gear switch. Now you can put it anywhere you want, but right now I just have it set up right like that, so they drop, and then that's reverse, right? And they work really well. I mean, I can't explain it. I could throttle this up. Here, you can hear the vibration. Oh, I knocked something over. Anyways, it vibrates. Does a pretty crazy vibration, but it's not as bad as when it's in the water. Anyways, so the gates, they open and they're fine with the switch. And then I have this switch here set up so that when I turn the boat, here, that's normal. When I turn the boat with this stick, I can actually do a 360. So I hit my right aileron switch. I have this hooked up to the ailerons. So I put, which is rudder now, right? I push this over, and then this closes off, and then this, so this is pushing water that way, and this is pushing water this way. So it just spins. This thing will spin nice. I tested it in my bathtub, and it worked really well. The next test is gonna be in the pond, obviously. But it does it the same way that way too, and it's actually like the more you push, the more it goes. So if you just want to do like a little bit more tighter turn while you're going full speed or whatever, that'll work. But they close nice. And then I want to discuss about these servos here that I used. I really couldn't think of any other way to not have too much of an encumbrance issue or problem. So this comes off. I had to take that off earlier. That will eventually glue on. Now I did waterproof these, but I waterproofed them kind of a ghetto way. I waterproofed them only to the casing, so underneath where the actual servo sits, the servo horn sits, it's not sealed right there like you normally use like an O-ring or something. I didn't seal that because literally the water would have to fill up the whole way. To it'd have to fill this tub all the way up to the top, well inside there to get up in the servo. So I just sealed inside. I sealed all the circuit boards inside, the motor, the wiring, and then I put a nice bead of, and I used a clear nail polish. I've seen people do it with receivers. I've never really seen them do it with servos, but the only downside of using nail polish is you won't be able to get that crap off if you have to do any type of maintenance on them. But I figured, hey, what the heck, I'm gonna try it. And this is really why I'm gonna take my rescue boat out, because if these aren't sealed and the water does get into one of these, it's gonna short out the whole system and kill my power again like it did before. So I'm just worried about that. I was thinking of putting some drainage tubes in here, but I'm gonna see how much water actually goes in here. Once I put all the screws in here, I'm gonna see how much water actually goes in from the whole thing. We'll see what happens there. If I do get quite a bit of water in there, I will probably drill some holes with some drinking straws or tubes to drain it out so it won't stay in there. But anyways, so that's how these are in there. These actually pull out. They're not mounted right now. They're not sealed. I was thinking of sealing them off. I may do that eventually, but the only issue is if you have any maintenance that you need to do on your drive shafts or your pump shafts, you have to take these out to get this off, and then you have to take this whole tray off, and then it comes off. So I'm eventually gonna make these look like ammo cans. There's an ammo can out here I took off. I was trying to actually fit it in that ammo can, but there was no way, so I'll definitely put that one back on. But I might just paint these up and make them look like ammo cans, because I mean they're right next to this gun, and this boat didn't have any ammo cans back here. You'll notice the gas cans I took out, those aren't there. I'll probably put those back. There's enough room now for that. And then there's probably enough room for a guy to stand. It'll be fine. But those, hopefully those will look like ammo cans. I might even put like a, well, I don't want to put a belt in there, but maybe like something, because this is a 50 caliber machine gun, and you need ammo back there, right? So I just thought that would be cool. I don't know what other people have done. I was thinking of laying these flat in there, but it was just going to be getting in the way of the shafts, because there's not much room in there. I have a picture of how much room. There's not a whole lot of room. So the smaller servo, the better, and they're really strong. They don't really seem to be struggling too much. And I've been greasing up these tubes here too with the regular grease, marine grease, and it seems to be working. So I think as long as you keep these greased up good, it should be fine. So yeah. Other than that, I think that was all I did. Oh, the other little detail I did up here, which isn't a huge deal, but I made this. What do you call it? Life rescue preserver thing here. This, whatever you call it. This. I made it look a little bit realer. Instead of just painting it, I was like, yeah, let me just throw some of this. And it actually works. You could. This is glued on here, but I mean, you could take this off, cut it if you want to unravel it, and it would actually. There's a little. I have a little secure rope right there to hold it, so you could actually use it if you wanted to. I was thinking of doing the anchor too. So I think that's about it, though. Thanks for watching, and I hope if you guys do this build, if you have any questions, I will give you information on the description of all the materials I used for this. These are literally servo screws. These servos I got. These little micro servos, I think they're, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I got them from the Ace Hobby store, and I had mount screws here, and I wasn't sure what type of connection I was going to do for these. I just have to drill these holes through here, and then I just stuck the screw in there, and it worked great, you know. The perfect size for it, and they don't bind at all. So yeah, I don't know, man, like they work really good. I didn't think they would, but they screw right in there and they hold it and still keep it from you know, falling apart or anything. So I think that's all I did. Yep, that's pretty much. I did beef up the steering also, because that one broke on me, so I beefed that one up because there was a little bit more slop in this too. So I beefed up the steering control arm there, and that was it. So thanks for watching, guys, and any questions, comments, I will put a video up of the actual working of this boat. I've seen a lot of I've seen a couple videos of these things working, but no one really explained what they did. And oh, I just used super glue to glue these. I actually glued these buckets onto the nozzles themselves. It's a direct fit, and to get the correct distance, here, I forgot about this part. These screws act as a stopper. When I screwed these screws in there, they actually act as a stopper. So when you push this on, it actually stops on both of them. So that gave me consistency there. I mean, you could mark it if you want, and I didn't want them all the way up to. You can butt them all the way up as far as you can go. You just have to. You'd have to cut away. Excuse me. Sorry for this video is longer than I thought it was going to be, but you just have to cut away. There's a little plastic piece. There's a little plastic piece on these jets right here, and you just have to cut that away, just because that's what I was going to do at first. And they will slide up more if you're worried about these things coming off, or depending on what type of glue you use. But the problem with that is this gate right here, this piece right here will be even closer than it is now. And if you look at it, it's actually pretty close right now to the top. So I was like, you know what, let me just set it back a little way, and these screws actually in here actually help me get that set a little bit further back so that they won't interfere, and when you steer, you know, they don't hit that either. So, but that's it though. I'll talk to you later. Thanks.